How are you doing? It's me, JEMIENAFTALY, on the pediatric world. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is all about the common illnesses affecting children. This channel is about the kids' welfare, the medical problems, and also we try to find solutions here. So we create the awareness, we want to provide the knowledge on the common illnesses that babies, these children, get while growing up. So commonly the under fives. So we want people to be aware, the caregivers, those mothers, the guardians, everybody, on common illnesses affecting these babies. And the end result, why we want to do all this, we want to have healthy babies. We want to prevent the complications, if possible, by knowing these conditions early. And also that's why we want to provide medical solutions. So welcome to this channel. I welcome you back here, and if you're new, please join the family and remember to subscribe. So today's episode we are continuing on the classification of dehydration. Remember, we said it is classified according to clinical signs and symptoms, and this is by the WHO and also by the MOH. So we are going to see the clinical presentations in each classification. We said there are 4 broad classifications. One, we called it severely impaired circulation, and this is the hypovolemic shock. Another classification of dehydration, we said it is severe dehydration. The third classification is some dehydration, and the fourth one is no dehydration. So today we are going to see each classification, how the babies present in each classification when they come with these diarrheas. So let's start with the babies with severely impaired circulation, those babies with hypovolemic shock. We said dehydration, the diarrheas leading to dehydrations are this serious. Babies will go into shock, and this classification is the most severe form of dehydration. It is the preterminal effects. It is the last event before the child collapses. Imagine, it is that serious due to dehydration causing dehydration. Due to diarrhea causing dehydration, the babies collapse. They get this. That's why we are calling it impaired. They have impaired circulation, the hypovolemic shock. It is the preterminal. It is the last thing before the babies collapse. So hence it should be accurately diagnosed. As the professional caregivers, we should diagnose it very, very fast so that the management can start immediately, the effective treatment to be given. So that is about the hypovolemic shock. So then how do these children with hypovolemic shock present? So number one, they present with reduced levels of consciousness. And here we say the baby is AVPU less than A. So remember, we mentioned the AVPU. This is a way to try and determine how the baby is responsive. The responsiveness of these babies is by AVPU. We said A is alertness, if the baby is alert. V is if the baby is able to respond to voice. If you call them, you try to tap them. P, if they respond to pain, you find them responding to pain. And U is unconsciousness. So we are saying babies with hypovolemic shock, with impaired circulation, present with reduced levels of consciousness. And this one we say that these babies are AVPU less than A. So another clinical sign is that these babies will have cold hands plus weak pulse or absent. So when you touch the peripheries, the hands, the fingers, and also the feet, they are very, very cold. And also the pulse is very weak, and sometimes it is absent. So what is the pulse? Pulse is this one here. We have many pulses. We can have this one here, this one. We can have another one here. So when you get hold of this pulse, yes, it is there, it is pulsating, but very weakly. It is very weak, and sometimes it can also be absent. So this is what we call weak or absent pulse. So they also have capillary refill of more than 3 seconds. What is a capillary refill? So when you press this part of the finger here, when you press it and then you release, so the blood coming back there, you imagine how it comes back so fast and quickly. So with these babies, because they have impaired circulation, they have hypovolemic shock, when you press here, it takes longer to come back. So this is what we are saying, the capillary refill is more than 3 seconds. It takes more than 3 seconds to return back. And this is a way of showing that the circulation is interrupted. The circulation is not so good. It is impaired. So in addition to those clinical presentations, these babies have history of diarrhea and they have sunken eyes. When you look at their eyes, they are not so straight. They are just sunken. They are inside. So because they have lost these fluids. They also have low skin pinch. When you pinch the skin, but mostly we use the abdominal skin. We pinch the abdominal part. So when you pinch the abdomen like this, it has folds. Instead of it has got folds, and it has low skin pinch. When you pinch, it goes back again so slowly and with folds, because this skin, because of this dehydration. So that's why we are saying they have low skin pinch, and we are saying we use the low skin pinch. We pinch the skin, the abdominal skin, mostly to assess this dehydration. So those are the clinical presentations of babies with hypovolemic shock, the first classification of dehydration by the WHO, and we are saying it is the severest form because it is where babies go and they go into coma and they are unconscious and they collapse eventually. So that is number 1. So the second classification, we say it is severe dehydration. Severe dehydration. So if the child does not have it, the child does not fulfill the criteria for hypovolemic shock, nor those signs like the ones we said before. So this could be the features of severe dehydration. So what are the clinical presentation, the clinical signs and symptoms? So the pulse is easy to feel. It is easy to feel. You can feel the pulse. Remember, for the hypovolemic shock, it was very weak and sometimes absent. But for those with severe dehydration, you find that the pulse is you are easy to feel it. Yes, you feel the pulsations. At least they are better than those with hypovolemic shock. Also, the AVPU again is less than A. They can be unconscious just like the hypovolemic shock. They have again sunken eyes, just like the hypovolemic shock. The eyes go deep down and they're very sunken. The return of skin pinch, is more than or equal to 2 seconds. So it takes longer when you pinch the skin. We said we use the abdominal skin. When you pinch it, it takes longer, but not as longer as those with hypovolemic shock. Remember, for those with hypovolemic shock, the skin pinch was taking 3 seconds, but this one they can take less or equal to 2 seconds. So those are the signs. You are able to differentiate between the signs of severe dehydration and to those children with hypovolemic shock. The third classification is some dehydration. What do we mean some dehydration? Some dehydration, in some dehydration, the child is a bit better. The child is, before I go to some dehydration, for severe dehydration, the babies are not able to drink. They're not able to drink on their own. So remember that in severe dehydration. But when we do some dehydration, the babies are able to drink adequately. So this is better. This is better. They have not gone into so much severe dehydration. That's why we call it severe some dehydration. So the child is able to drink adequately, but they are restless and irritable. So the baby is very, very irritable. They're just crying every time. So not doing nothing, but they're just crying all through. So this is the difference between some dehydration and severe dehydration. We are saying severe dehydration, the babies are not able to drink. But for some dehydration, they are able to drink, and they also have restlessness and irritability. So when you find those signs, this is where we classify this dehydration, some dehydration. On top, they also have sunken eyes, but their skin pinch return is 1 to 2 seconds. So as we go down to the classification, the dehydration becomes it is better because remember, for severe dehydration, the skin pinch, the abdominal skin pinch, when you pinch, it comes slowly and it takes 2 or more seconds to come back. But for this some dehydration, we are saying takes 1 to 2 seconds to come back. So note that the ability to drink is the important sign to distinguish between a severe dehydration from some dehydration, and that we have clarified. We have clarified that. So as the professional caregivers, we should observe this, how we have ways of knowing if the babies are able to drink or not. So sometimes we ask the mothers to breastfeed to see if the babies are able to breastfeed. So if it is for some dehydration, you find that the babies are able to breastfeed, you ask them to sip some fluids, even some water, and the baby can sip, and you're able to say this is some dehydration and not severe dehydration. So the last classification of dehydration is no dehydration. No dehydration. So what is no dehydration? Here we have diarrheas. The babies, the children have diarrheas, but we do not have dehydration. So this is the best of all. Even if you should again be very, very careful, we should act on it also immediately so that it does not go into some dehydration to severe dehydration, and eventually we get into hypovolemic shock. So it's the best of all. The fourth classification, the no dehydration. We are saying there is diarrhea, but the child does not meet any of those symptoms. They don't have significant dehydration. So treatment, we are saying, is offered immediately to prevent them from going into some dehydration, into severe dehydration, or into hypovolemic shock. So remember, those are the four classification of dehydration by the MOH and by the WHO, the World Health Organization. And we say them, they classify according to the clinical signs and symptoms. And we have seen how these babies present with, how the dehydration is, how they present with this dehydration in each classification. So now you know. I am sure you have learned. You have learned a lot. You didn't know these things. So thank you so much for staying tuned. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for commenting. I am so happy and blessed. Thank you even for your feedback. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit on the subscription button. Subscribe. Keep sharing these videos. Share them widely so that mothers somewhere, we can help some mothers somewhere. Many people can get help. I'm sure. But remember, this is the aim of this channel. We want to have healthy babies. We want to include you into the management. You, the caregivers, we want to include you into the management of these babies, because you're going to find that 90% is on prevention of these illnesses. We can really try to prevent them when we get this know-how, when we get to have this knowledge. So keep subscribing if you haven't, and if you're new, join the family and leave a comment down on the comment section and hit on the notification bell so that you are able to know every time I post a new video. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Till next time, bye bye.